President Joko Widodo called for better collaboration with neighboring Malaysia to fight what he called discrimination against their country's palm oil products.
Indonesia and Malaysia are the world's top two producers and exporters of palm oil, a commodity used in everything from lipstick to pizza. In a joint statement, the two leaders pledged to cooperate closely to address the EU's highly detrimental discriminatory measures against palm oil. They emphasized that the EU needs to promptly work towards a fair and equitable resolution.
Kolaborasi untuk melawan diskriminasi kelapa sawit dan juga komoditas lainnya. Saya sangat menghargai baru-baru ini dilakukan joint mission Indonesia, Malaysia, ke Brussels, dan kolaborasi semacam ini harus terus diperkuat. Jangan sampai komoditas yang dihasilkan oleh Malaysia, oleh Indonesia, didiskriminasi di negara lain.
President Joko emphasized during G7 and other international forums to preserve and maintain our trading companies of palm oil exports, not just for associations but also small plantations. We welcome and congratulate both ministers during meetings in Europe as for the first time Indonesia, Malaysia stand in one voice in defending the interest of palm oil. Malaysia calls the law unjust and has said that it is working with Indonesia to consider an appropriate response to the law. President Jokowi also said both countries have agreed to establish a framework for protecting migrant workers' rights.
Indonesia and neighboring Malaysia agreed to step up cooperation in fighting against discriminatory measures imposed by the European Union against palm oil products.
President Joko Widodo called for a better collaboration with neighboring Malaysia to fight what he called discrimination against their country's palm oil products as new European Union law threatens to dent exports of the commodity. Indonesia and Malaysia need to step up cooperation in defending the two countries' palm oil exports in the world, the Indonesian president told a press conference in Kuala Lumpur after meeting Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. In a joint statement, the two leaders vowed to cooperate closely to address the EU's highly detrimental discriminatory measures against palm oil. The EU needs to promptly work towards a fair and equitable resolution, they said in the statement. The European Parliament adopted the new legislation called EU Deforestation Regulation or EUDR in April that will ban imports deemed to be driving deforestation, showing the bloc's trade muscle behind a global fight against climate change. The law, which is awaiting final approval from EU member countries, would restrict imports from around the world on coffee, cocoa, soy, timber, palm oil, cattle, printing paper, and rubber. Imports that come from land deforested after December 31st, 2020 would be prohibited in the huge EU market, the third largest for both Indonesia and Malaysia. Indonesia and Malaysia are the world's top two producers and exporters of palm oil, a commodity used in everything from lipstick to pizza. Indonesia and Malaysia, which together account for about 85% of global palm oil exports, sent a joint mission to Brussels last week with senior government officials from both countries meeting with EU leaders to discuss the deforestation law.
President Joko Widodo and Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim agreed to collaborate in fighting EU's discrimination against palm oil products. Joining us today, Pak M. Fadil Hassan, the head of foreign divisions of the Indonesian Palm Oil Producers Association, or GAPKI. We invite him to comment on the two leaders' initiative in defending palm oil exports and how the association will help address the problem. Hello, sir. Fadil Hassan, thank you so much for joining us. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir. So we talk about this issue, this very important issue, sir, about President Joko Widodo and Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim agreed on Thursday to cooperate in fighting against the European Union's discrimination against palm oil. So what is the comment from your association, from GAPKI, about this issue, and what are your expectations, sir?
Yes, first of all, I think the statement comes from the two leaders is very important and very encouraging for us, yeah, since we know that this EUDR will have a significant negative impact on our export. And we as association are very concerned about this, And then knowing that the two leaders understand the problems and then promise to cooperate. Actually, not promise because we already cooperate with Malaysia in other issues also, But I think with the commitment come from the top two leaders, this I think is really very good step, I think, and in fighting the discrimination against palm oil.
I see. Pak Fadil, in your opinion, what steps you would consider the most effective that the government should take in addressing such discrimination, sir?
Yes, I think last week the coordinating minister for economic affairs and the deputy prime minister of Malaysia went to Brussels in a joint mission to directly respond to the Parliament of EU, the Commission of EU about this regulation. I think they stated very clearly that Indonesia and Malaysia cannot accept this regulation, because first of all, the implementation will be very difficult, and then also I think by categorizing Indonesia, by categorizing a country based on the what do you call it, their management on the some commodities, it is not fair, and then that kind of categorization is not what do you call it, it's not common, it's not common imposed by another country. And then the third thing also is that the regulation does not recognize the sustainability schemes that issued by government of Indonesia and government of Malaysia. And then the fourth concern that smallholders will be excluded from the supply chains. So that message already being conveyed by the two ministers. Now I think it's up to the EU, how then they're gonna respond to this message, But what I understand is that the EU and then the government of Malaysia and Indonesia agree to establish a task force addressing these issues, and then also they promise to come to Indonesia and Malaysia to directly see the management of the palm oil industries in Indonesia and Malaysia. So I think with that step, we're gonna wait. We're gonna see what is the implementation of this regulation in the next 18 months, right? But at the same time, I think it is very important for us, to take a step to analyze in more detail about this EUDR, whether or not this regulation violate the principle of the WTO, yeah, of the trade relation among the countries. If we find that this regulation violate the principle of WTO, I think it is a good step, if we can bring this to the court. Yeah.
I see. So the issues now, in the bigger picture, is being handled between the governments involved, sir. So, but from the point of view of the association, from the point of view of GAPKI, is there anything that you can do? What will the association do to help the government in fighting this discrimination, Pak Fadil?
Yeah, of course we support the government, along the way. I think for example, now we try to diversify our export, yeah, of palm oil to non-traditional countries, yeah, and then also we continue our works in conducting the positive campaign in EU, at least to try to change the mindset of the public there, so that they don't see that palm oil is bad products, because as we know that this regulation also motivated, yeah, or is supported by the public because the public has a negative perception on palm oil. So I think uh, if we do this positive campaign, what do you call it, more regular and more intense, then I think we hope there is a change in the public perception on palm oil. So then, if the government of EU or the EU Commission or EU Parliament issue this kind of regulation, this will not be supported by the public. So that's what we are trying to do,
I see. So can you please enlighten us once more, Pak Fadil? How big is the market of Indonesian palm oil products in the EU, say, compared to other regions, sir?
Yes, I think EU is still the third largest importing of palm oil from Indonesia. The first one is China or India. The second one is India or China. And then the third one is EU. We export, I think, around 3.7 million ton of CPO in its products in 2022. Yes, of course, this export declined from the previous years. Yeah, we ever exported the palm oil to EU around 5.5 million in 2017, but it's continue to decline. So last year is only 3.75 million tons. But it is still a very important market for us. So that's why I think we cannot ignore this. But with this regulation, I think there will be another restriction on our export to EU. So we try to maintain this market, while at the same time, we also need to address this regulation. We're gonna make sure that this regulation will not hamper our export to EU.
Pak Fadil, I'm playing the devil's advocate here. If let's say if the CPO import ban is approved by all EU member countries, how severe it would affect Indonesia's CPO exports, Pak Fadil?
Yeah, I think to be honest, the one that will be impacted by this EUDR is smallholders. And smallholders accounted for around, what do you call it, 38% of our production, so it's around maybe 6 to 7 million, maybe more than that. I think it's maybe 20 something million ton, right? So because of this EUDR, the smallholders will be excluded from the supply chains. As for the large companies, I think they have resources to comply with this regulation. So if we are talking here about our export to EU of the 3.75 million, so maybe around 40% of that, which let's say come from the smallholders, will be affected. So that's the problem that we face, I think.
I see. We surely hope for the best outcome of the issue. We would like to thank you so much for your time, Pak Fadil Hasan, and we wish you a great day, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pak Fadil Hasan, the head of Foreign Division of Indonesian Palm Oil Producers Association.